Hello, Sophia. Happy birthday. How are you? How is Melbourne?
Thank you, Grandpa. Everything is cool. The sun is out.
It's great to see you and say hello. My dear, I owe you a party so we can celebrate.
I'm not a fan of parties. I prefer something unusual, something new.
Well, how about we celebrate by going on a trip together? We're going to visit the past, so put on your VR glasses because we're traveling to the 20th century and a bit further back as well.
Oh, seriously? Where's that?
We're going somewhere very special, okay?
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, now we're dressed for the occasion. So get ready to visit a unique museum, the Museum of 20th Century Universities.
Deteriorating educational environment.
We have an education crisis right now.
Se aprende de esta manera o es un momento más de acompañamiento.
Now let's face it, there is something wrong with our system. Millions of students can't even afford to pay off their loans.
Sabemos que el futuro es esto. Los empleos van a requerir y ya requieren cada vez más capacidades en los chicos que tienen mucho más allá que ver con el aprendizaje académico.
This museum was designed and codified by a community of artists, educators, and historians who wanted to recreate the experience of traditional universities, beginning with the first recognized universities, such as the one in Bologna, founded in 1088, Nalanda in India, and Al-Qarawiyyin in Morocco, exactly as they functioned in the past. The museum offers a moment for one to connect and share with people from all over the world in virtual reality. Although there are hundreds of structures that remain in place, the function of the universities has changed somewhat, especially throughout the 20th century. The museum contains samples that represent the types of buildings that house the universities and the main activities that took place there, up to the beginning of the following century. Discover the significance of these spaces for our parents and grandparents. They were castles of knowledge where they studied for many years consecutively. Enter a classroom or library and surround yourself with the sounds and experiences of a cafeteria as though you were actually there. Welcome to the museum.
Freud theorized that repression has 3 stages: fixation, then there is repression itself,
Shall we continue?
and the
All right.
return of the repression.
Looking around this classroom, I can actually identify with the boredom the students are feeling.
Yeah, for centuries and decades, it was thought that the best way to learn was to listen to professors lecture on a topic for hours. And that resulted in a learning situation that was quite passive for students, condemned to take notes and memorize the professor's words. No interaction at all, not even among the students themselves.
What's that?
The library.
I don't see any computers in there.
It wasn't customary to use computers in the library during that era. You want to take a look?
Yeah, come on.
And here we are, in the library.
Did you come often?
Yeah, quite often.
If you need any books or publications, you can ask me. You can request up to 1 book per person, which must be read here.
Just 1 book?
Yes,
But
just
what-
1 book.
What if I would like to return it later?
No, not possible.
And the computers, where are they?
What computers?
To search for information.
There are no computers here. There are only books.
Then how do I find the book I'm looking for?
Well, you ask me. Everything is in here. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the past, Everything was done with numbers, grades, and rankings when it came time to evaluate students, teachers, and the universities themselves. Doing so was important in order to gauge the work of the universities and the teachers. What was your university's ranking in science? What grade did you get? What was your grade point average? A 10 was the highest grade, and a 1 was the lowest. You could pass with a 4 at some universities. Each number and grade determined a type of student and a type of instructor. Everything was decided by a number.
Everything was counted, averaged, and ranked. What was your score on the Go Code, the famous admissions test in China? How did you do in the Mathematical Olympiad? What is your professor's H-index? All of it.
So the universities didn't select their students based on their life plans, but rather based on some numbers that meant nothing?
Avatars, can you hear me? Come back, come back. I need to explain something to you. Attention, if you please. I saw you pausing at the grades and evaluations, and I want to show you something. The universities used to group their students by program. There was science and technology on one side, and humanities on the other. Those who studied philosophy, psychology, or social sciences were together in yet another building, and economics students were grouped into colleges.
They all took the same courses to obtain the same degree, as if we all learn at the same pace and in the same manner.
We cannot help but be surprised by the artificial distinction between the humanities and the so-called hard sciences. Anyway, I won't interrupt you again. Continue with your tour. You still need to pay a visit to the Exclusion Pavilion. This space is very important indeed. We want to present 2 instances of exclusion in the history of universities. We'll speak of gender and racism. In Bologna, women were not permitted full admission into the university until well into the modern era. In fact, 800 years after it was founded, women were officially allowed to pursue university studies, although female participation was very low in comparison to that of males. It's important to recall the story of Maria Sklodowska, a young Polish woman passionate about science who wanted to study at her local university. However, she was rejected for being a woman. She was lucky because her parents had enough money to send her to study abroad in Paris. And today, we remember her as Marie Curie, the first and only woman to win 2 Nobel Prizes to date in physics and chemistry. Marie Curie was also the first woman in history to become a professor at the prestigious Sorbonne University. The first black student admitted to Harvard was Richard Greener. Greener, who was a prominent civil rights advocate and an important African-American intellectual, graduated in the year 1870. However, the process of inclusion was neither immediate nor smooth, and the number of students of color at Harvard remained very low for many years, especially in the context of the racial segregation that prevailed in the United States until the mid-20th century.
This room, Sophia, shows us the inequalities that characterized many elite institutions during that time.
How was education when I was born?
2021.
La situación es grave.
Coronavirus proche du SRAS.
C'est du jamais vu. Des millions d'habitants.
Look, Sophia, I remember very well what education was like when you were born, because it coincided with your dad's final year of studies as a doctor, and the context was difficult. What seemed like science fiction, what we viewed as a dystopian world, ended up becoming the norm.
Children worldwide.
From one week to the next, and in some cases from one day to the next, classes were held online, and students had to log into virtual platforms. Everyone studied online.
The importance of flexible online education.
They did assignments using platforms the universities worked hard to set up. The idea was that everyone could connect and devote the necessary time to their studies in a way that was completely new. But before the pandemic, There was widespread contempt for online education. It was considered second-rate. And almost no university had the technical capacity for long-distance learning, with the exception of a few innovative professors who were considered weird. Unfortunately, as soon as the pandemic ended, the vast majority of universities returned to on-site classes, instead of taking advantage of the opportunity to offer more hybrid or online programs.
You'll have only 30 minutes to complete the exam in its entirety. So it is clear that you cannot speak.
Look, Sophia, they're taking an exam in complete silence. And the teacher walks among them to be sure they complete it on their own without copying each other.
Copying?
Yeah, that's how they were graded at the time.
No talking.
Each person had to demonstrate what they knew on their own, based on what they had memorized. There was no consulting their books, or the internet, or ChatGPT.
It's so different from what we do now. Our exams are much more interactive and team-oriented. This silence is so intense. Thanks for the trip, Grandpa. I enjoyed learning about everything we saw. It makes me feel incredibly lucky to live in this era where education is more open and more flexible. Can you imagine being restricted to studying at a single university? Instead of having a more fluid education with interdisciplinary subjects and many different learning spaces throughout my lifetime? It's good to know about the past, to understand and appreciate the present. Thank you, Grandpa.
I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Happy birthday.